I will call this meeting of the Stockbridge Planning Board to order on December 7th. Thank you all for coming. Welcome those who are attending remotely. The first item of business is, as usual, review of the minutes of the last meeting, November 16th. May I have a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none. Jennifer, can you call the roll, please?
Wade,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
okay?
No Carl.
Do we know Carl is not here?
Yes,
Sure.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
There it is.
Carl,
Carl,
you're muted. Do you approve the minutes? I think I heard it. I can read his lips.
Still muted.
I
Still
think he
muted.
said yes.
Yeah, okay. Good. The next is, I'd actually offered to the town administrator, Mike, for him to change the order of the agenda slightly to bring him up earlier in the agenda. Would you like to go now, Mike, and talk about BRPC?
I'm fine if you want to do the hearing and then put me before the NRPZ discussion.
Okay, we'll wait. The next item then is the Form A of, is it Willow Street? You're here from,
I am, yeah.
hi,
Hi,
what's your name? I'm sorry.
I'm Alexander Thorpe.
Alexander. I think we've got the one handout of the survey. Is there anything you want to talk about, show us,
Be happy to
highlight?
present the plan and
Please do.
show you the full size print. And do you prefer, for the sake of clarity, that I take my mask off so you can hear me better, or
We
keep
can
it
hear
on?
you.
Okay,
Yeah, we can.
fine. Yeah, these are the applications. So again, for the record, my name's Alexander Thorpe. I'm dual licensed in Massachusetts as a professional engineer and as a land surveyor. And this plan came about as a result of a request from Brex, the adjacent owner here, and the owner of parcel A here, but actually shows a division of Helen Hawkins land, which is this larger piece here. When we performed the survey, the location of the existing line between these two parties, there was some ambiguity about the location of the line. And the parties have decided not to strictly place the line where it may now run, which is through the middle of an existing garage in this location, but rather Hawkins will convey a small piece of land here identified as parcel B to Brex. Now, the land of Helen Hawkins complies with zoning requirements, and nothing will, other than there will be a small reduction in the amount of frontage and a small reduction in area through the conveyance of this parcel B. This will still meet the zoning requirements for frontage and area. Parcel A is a non-conforming parcel as it is, but as this parcel B is to be conjoined to parcel A and will increase its frontage and area, and will not create a separate building lot, it seems to be overall an improvement to the situation. Also, the land on the side of the garage now will comply with the side yard requirement for this district. So overall, it's improving things. There's no new creation of a building lot, and I believe it's appropriate that it be endorsed as approval not required.
Where are the streets? What streets are it?
Sorry, yeah, I didn't give you a big picture. This is Willow Street here, and this is Christian Hill Road.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the area super well. I get lost every time I go up there, but come up
Comes up out of Glendale.
out of Glendale,
By
yeah.
the, off 180
Straight, it
steep
goes up.
one.
Okay, and
That's
it's,
Christian Hill.
okay, and this property is to the left of that hill going up.
Well, this is Christian Hill coming up
This
and
is
Willow
Christian
Street.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
Any questions of Alexander?
No.
Seems pretty straightforward. So the amended parcel A with the addition of this new land is still non-conforming
It is still non-conforming with respect to area, and I think I have notes that
and frontage.
clarify what it.
It's very hard to read. That's,
Yeah, there's a lot of details, with every one of these analyses, you gotta think it through, so.
5.
The minimums are 20,000 square feet and a frontage of 125 feet. This, with parcel B, these are overlaying awkwardly, so it's hard to read, but with the addition of parcel B, the sum total of these is less than 13,000 square feet, so it's still deficient with respect to area. And the frontage with both pieces together is 75 and 21 roughly, so about 96 feet. So it's deficient with respect to frontage as well.
okay. But slightly less so.
What's the zoning? What's the zoning, what? RC? Oh, okay.
Hey, Al,
Yeah.
it's Kate. I'm just curious, what are those wavy lines to the, sort of to the back, on the back of the lots of parcel A and the Brex Campos Castillo?
The blue lines?
No, there's some wavy lines sort of to the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, they're blue.
The brook.
It's the brook.
Oh, the brook, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Make a motion, we approve this application.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's a Form A, do we have to? It's a Form A, do we have?
Actually,
Do we have to do a motion and approve it?
I don't think we approve it. We acknowledge that it's, what's the language?
I think we normally vote on
Do we vote on
it.
it?
Yeah.
You just
Well, there's
make
no
a
harm in
motion.
voting on it.
No, I think we normally vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
vote-
been-
we vote on it as an approval not required.
Okay, and it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Jennifer, please call the roll.
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Carl.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
you guys want to get up and just sign these?
The mayor who goes first.
Turn that around. I brought 4 copies, I think.
Yeah, I
you
think
keep
I need
3,
4.
right? Or you keep all 4?
Let's see, I need, the assessment content, I need 4,
Okay, I've got
Plus I
4
can
there,
do
so
mine.
you can have them.
and I give you the Mylar.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So one at the top on all 4.
Yeah,
Well, shall we now? Man, that's weird. All right, there we go.
Is Charles Brex new? Are these new people? I mean, I don't know. Are they new or they
Oh, exactly. I think he's from Rhode Island. And I think they've owned it a few years. His son
Oh.
owns the one next door. Michael
Oh.
Brex is his son,
Oh, okay.
and Michael's a builder. I don't know of off the top of
So
my head
this is,
how long they've been here. I guess they're new. I'm new. I moved here about 25 years ago.
Now what happens that are on Zoom, they have to come down and sign later, or is this enough of us? Is this, yeah, to sign this, is this all going to be enough of us, or did these guys? This way. This is.
My daughter's got one of these.
Yeah, this one's. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm 5 minutes away and I was planning to come to the meeting in person, but I'm still unpacking. I don't know, I'm still,
Go figure.
Yes.
And we've got to go to.
if you need me, I can be there in a flash.
Thursday.
I think we're okay, Carl.
Right.
Did not. Oh. Oh.
We're probably 40 miles.
I know, he got a Christmas tree. He said, the place looks so lonely just sitting there, and I said, you should cover it. No, then they'll know it's winter. I'll have to tell Peter.
I had to. I actually took just for a little drive down the street. And I said,
We don't,
that's not enough.
So,
I
We don't.
put my helmet on.
did you have all your winter gear on and
It
everything?
was chilly. It was 39, but I was able to be warm.
Want to send them over here?
That guy trying to turn around near the four trailer the other day. But they didn't use the four corners. He was trying to get into the parking of the field in that little opening with a tractor trailer.
I feel so bad.
Get in there and
I
turn.
don't know.
Oh,
I might say.
Very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
So you must be Chris Greendale. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've seen your sign application. Do you want to talk about it or?
I was asked to be here in case you had any questions.
Okay. Building looks very nice,
Thank you.
being repainted.
That was Tiffany, not me.
Oh, well,
So this is going up above the door where
I guess
you're.
the issue with the new sign at 17.5 square feet is that it exceeds what's permitted in the bylaws. The max is 16.
How so, Bill?
I
Well,
read 30.
let's
30.
look at it.
30 feet.
I thought if you look at 6.8.8, page 54,
Business district.
I know, that's the business district. Little A, little 2, little I, i's. Non-residential principal use consisting of multiple establishments, one sign not to exceed 16 square feet in area for each
If you
separate
scroll
establishment.
down, if you scroll down to permanent signs in the business district, you will see,
Yeah,
Where we are.
that's where I am.
This one here.
No more than 3 signs. This is This is
No
one
more
sign.
than 3 signs not to exceed
But you
30
get the
feet.
combination.
Yeah,
Do
you
we?
can't have more than 3 signs or 30 feet.
Well, maybe I'm misinterpreting this. But I think little I says signs not to exceed 30 feet, square feet. Two little I says one sign not to exceed 16 square feet. This is one sign, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Am I misreading this or what am I missing?
Where was your first reading?
Here.
I see this one. Where was the one you just read?
This is the one I read.
Oh, I see, for any non, consisting of multiple establishments. This isn't a multiple establishment. It's just a store, right?
And it's one sign.
Am I not right?
But it's one sign.
Bill's right.
It's one sign.
Bill's right.
And I'm sorry, where are we, where would this sign be?
6.8.8, A, two little I.
Oh, I'm sorry, but where would the sign, where's the proposed sign to be located?
Above the entrance to the Elm Street Market.
Oh, well,
Did you not get the papers?
no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Bill, I'm reading this as the 2 little I's
Yep.
for non-residential principal use consisting of multiple establishments. That's like if there were 2 or 3 stores in this building. Isn't that what they're saying?
One sign for each
Yeah.
separate establishment.
Right, but this is only one establishment, his store. It would be the little I at the top, I think. That's how I read it.
So,
That's how I read it, Marie. It's one,
That it's one establishment, so you can have 3 signs or not more than 30 feet. This one would be like, I don't know, the Muse or one of those buildings that have more than one establishment in it. That's the way I read it.
But if it's a single establishment with 3 signs, but he's only putting up 1 sign, he's not combining 3 signs.
I thought you
No,
had
but
the
you still
option.
could.
I thought you had the option to do 30 on one or
Yeah,
3
Or
separately.
3 separate. You're not going to have separate sign in your window or on the door or anything. It's just over.
so,
It's essentially, sign that we want to put up is
This is what I'm
essentially
looking at.
Yeah.
exactly the same size as the sign that's already up there. So it's no difference.
Oh,
It's
that's
about
30.
17 feet.
Oh,
square
okay.
feet. Now, if you want me to make it 16, I can do that. That's no big deal. Take 6 inches off each end and we're there. I don't care.
I mean, I think, Wayne, you may have hit on, if we go with little I, the preceding section, or not section, but paragraph.
yeah.
This suggests that you could have up to 3 signs not to exceed 30 feet, which means you could have 1 sign that consisted of anything up to 30 feet.
Correct.
That would be my
That
understanding.
guess.
3.
That
That's how I-
seems,
that's how I read it.
doesn't that seem very large?
Oh, that's projected.
Or if you're only going to have 1
Well-
sign, I mean, if you think about this sign,
It is.
Well, I mean, it's twice as big.
well, if you wanted more than 1 sign, I guess, and you had 3 signs,
For any night.
that'd be 3 10-foot, then 30 feet kind of is what you'd maybe have to have. Most people probably wouldn't put a 30-foot sign up.
Well, presumably 3 signs each would
Signs not to exceed.
be smaller.
Right.
Yes,
Not to exceed 30 square
they'd have to be
So
smaller, but
you'd
you might
have
want.
maybe
little
3 signs each of 10 feet, for example. 1 sign of 30 square feet seems pretty large.
Well, that's what's on there now.
It's not 30
Or
square.
I mean, it's, what is it now? 17 and a little.
It's about 17.
It's 16 now.
Yeah.
And then that sign has to be on the face of the building. It's not one that can project out.
Right.
So
So I think that the operative word is, I'll read from the beginning of I, for any non-residential principal use consisting of a single establishment, no more than 3 signs. So that could be 1, that could be 2, that could be 3 signs.
Yeah. So I think we're good.
Oh, there you go. Are they going to be colored or is it just black and white?
Black and tan,
Black and
which
tan?
is what is on the building now. So
Oh,
it'll be exactly the same.
okay.
I think the picture that I gave you looked like it's black and white.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I was.
I mean, sure you would.
I think you could put a silver Tiffany teapot on it, but there's already a teapot sign on that street.
Are we agreed that it's little I that
Yes.
is operative, not too little I?
Yes.
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept this application.
Second,
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? Any comments from the public? Okay, Jennifer, could you call the roll, please?
Wade,
aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Kate.
aye.
Aye.
Okay,
So we just proceed.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
A Merry Christmas.
Night now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Okay, Mike, you're up on BRPC, please.
All right. Hi, everyone. Just getting back to the board about what's been happening with BRPC. Last year, we had Philip Arnold from BRPC working with the town for the development of bylaws. And we were supposed to begin in August again with Philip Arnold as our consultant. We did have a single meeting with him shortly after meeting with Tom Matusko in August. Philip had come in, then not much happened, and then I found out that Philip Arnold had left Berkshire Regional Planning. So I've been in touch with Tom Matusko, the head of Berkshire Regional Planning. He has a new planner starting. One of the things that I did talk to Tom about was the fact that we really need, if this is gonna, if it is going to work, it has to be somebody that can physically come one day a week to town hall to work with the staff at town hall, not just remote that it's been the last year. So after talking to Tom, it was agreed. The individual starting is Kara Farrell. She's a planner. She is from New York State, so she will be learning some things in Massachusetts. But I think that we can take advantage of it. Thursdays are a day that she can be here. It's a day that Ned also is normally here. And I think between myself, Ned, even Jennifer, anyone else that at town hall we can pull in, we can use the person to work together to look to make sure to develop plans moving forward. So the first one is to tie up the accessory dwelling unit, get back to you guys by January, and then have this board identify any others that you want to focus on so I can make sure that those are being worked on now in a very timely manner compared to how it was done in the past. Because I don't necessarily think things were bad in the past, but I don't think we got the best bang for our buck. So I think we can do better. And I think this is the first step in that. So, you know, that's where it's at. We haven't been billed by Berkshire Regional Planning for anything. Like I said, he was only there for about 2 hours. So we still have the full allotment of money. We're halfway through the year. So this is how I was planning to move forward with that. So if there's any questions from the board or anybody else, please feel free to throw them out there.
Mike, when does she start?
She would start this coming Thursday, a half day. She has a training in the morning, and then really just to get used to town hall, where we'll locate her, and then really begin after the holidays.
Mike,
Mike,
we-
Can you send around her resume?
I will request a full resume from Tom to send around to the board. Yes.
Thank you.
Mike,
I'm
the
sorry.
day you had come,
Go ahead, Wayne.
thank you. Mike, the day you had come to our meeting, you explained the scenario that would happen in how they would receive their work and how that would get developed. Could you just review how you want that to happen again?
So the way I'm envisioning it is obviously this board would put together items, bylaws, or projects or issues that you would like to see addressed. I will then work with the planner to develop those. An example could be if we were looking at downtown parking and issues around parking, look at bylaws, look at the layout, identify locations, take all planning aspects into consideration, not just bylaw revisions. Some may just be bylaw revisions, which like the accessory dwelling unit, but that's how I would approach it. So, and then have the board, the planning board, identify those particular areas you'd like the focus to be on. So right now, the only two that still are there because nothing really happened in the fall would be parking and the issues around parking on the downtown and how our bylaws impact that. And then looking at accessory dwelling units. I would like to get the accessory dwelling unit back to you guys quickly because I think that's a fairly simple one to look at and then get some guidance. So the one thing I would be doing is working with the person and then develop what are called pivot points as we get to areas where then a decision needs to be made on what direction to take a bylaw or take a plan. That's when I would come to the planning board and say, okay, we have option A and we have option B. What does the planning board want us to approach on that? And it could be more than just A and B. It could be multiple pivot points that are identified. And then basically we fine tune it through that process. So that's what I would be doing. So I'm hoping now, I apologize that it didn't work out the first time, but I'm hoping that we can now kickstart it and get it moving now that we've addressed this issue and we'll have somebody working directly out of town hall.
Thanks, Michael.
So basically, Mike, you're describing a situation where essentially this planning consultant is working directly with you. Is there any kind of and you're reporting back to us, is there any kind of regular expectation of that person reporting directly to the planning board? Or is that kind of at your discretion?
No, I would have the individual, it would be either myself with the individual or the individual themselves coming to the planning board and
Okay.
explaining that we are now at pivot points and now asking you guys to give us the direction you would like that to proceed in. I just think that mainly it's communication. I know when we first looked at like the driveway permit last year, there were things in there that were part of a curb cut, and it wasn't understood that a curb cut and a driveway were two separate pieces, and we could have saved some time that was basically spent incorporating the curb cut into the driveway, and it really didn't need to happen. So I think by just having somebody working directly with staff at town hall, we'll be able to address those moving forward. But they would be reporting to you any decisions of direction as we develop, like I said, hit points where we need to decide what direction to go. Those would be decisions made by the planning board, not myself, not the planner, you guys.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your oversight, and it does seem like will save a lot of time at these meetings.
And I assume, Mike, this means that she would not be a regular attendee at our meetings, except in those circumstances where we've hit one of those pivot points.
Correct, unless you wish an update. And then if the planning board does feel like it's been a little bit of time and you want an update, then we would come and present an update on what's happened.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions of Mike? That's encouraging. We look forward to working with her.
Good. And maybe we can also have her come to the first meeting in January to meet the board.
Good idea.
Good. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. I had told Jeff Lacy that we'd probably get to him about 7:15 and to zoom in then. We've gotten to him 15 minutes early. Let me call him because he's standing by. Jeff, it's Bilbo. Hi, we have been a little more efficient than I thought, and we're ready for you if you can zoom in. Okay, thanks. Bye. He's moving to his desk and will zoom in a minute or two, I hope. Jennifer. Thank you.
Yeah.
No sneaking around this place, is there?
Yep.
Where those floors creak.
That's so you know everybody's footsteps, so you know who's coming down the hall.
Like high school.
Bill, this is Stephen. Is he aware of the new meeting login? It's not the old planning board login. It's a newer generic login.
It's G Stock, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I sent him the agenda, so it's on the agenda.
Okay.
I think he's okay, Steve.
Okay. Thanks.
If we don't hear from him in another minute, I'll call him back.
Okay.
Wayne, did you go to the Williams High School?
I wasn't here, then I went to the elementary school, Plain School.
Yeah, great.
We're old.
Boy, that hurts me.
I did, Carl.
I walked my kids down there on a daily basis, and my you know, my wife's aunt and grandfather, and you know, whatever, so father, and They were all there. Lots of friendly ghosts.
When did the school close?
60.
New middle school, not long ago.
When you were in fourth grade.
Wow.
Oh,
It was in the 90s, 2000, yeah.
But when did we,
No, it was 68.
oh, that's right, because
When they built the new middle school and elementary
what was
school.
that, 05, or was it way beyond? When was this place converted?
It closed at 68 because we graduated in
To
60.
convert it to a town hall?
Oh, yeah.
Was that 05 or something? Or was
Gary,
it?
what do
I
you
think
mean?
it was after that.
Gary, what are you thinking about for 68?
Oh, that's when we went to Monument Mountain.
Oh,
Yeah, but then it was an
That the
elementary
high
school.
school.
Yeah.
No, but the elementary school was there well into
90.
Oh, yeah.
It was either going to be housing.
You're doing great, Jennifer.
Apparently, these old schools convert really well to housing for the town hall.
Let me call Jeff again, see what's going on.
We
Well,
could do.
I
we could-
remember.
Sorry, Carl.
Oh, I said, I remember fishing my daughter out from underneath the principal's desk. She's only 26, so it wasn't that long ago.
New Year's. But he did have a glass of wine.
Hi, are you struggling to get on? Okay, because it's not the old passcode. It's as indicated in the agenda that they sent you.
I just admitted him. He's on now.
Oh, you're on. I guess we're hearing you're on and we're seeing you. There you are.
There you are.
Okay, fine. Okay. Jeff, welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Well, you guys are pretty efficient. Took you about 1 minute to do 2 items. That's, planning board meetings went like that.
Oh, we've been here since 6:30.
It's not like us.
The two official actions
It's an
were
aberration.
pretty straightforward. Yeah. Usually we spend hours. So talk to us about your site visits.
Okay. Well, here, I'll just free associate a little bit. Went out there, what was it, Saturday before last? And picked up a map with a bunch of sites on it that Bill had indicated I should visit. And let's see, the list of those reads something like this, although I visited a number of other ones too that just looked interesting. Eden Hill, the Marion Fathers, Campion Farms, 37 Interlaken, Meadow Road next door, Kapalu, Camp Mackinac, High Lawn Farm, Stonehill Road, and then Elm Court, Oronoke. Yeah, that was sort of the list, but I went to some other ones as well that just looked interesting. Some of the, what I did notice going around town is there are quite a few for sale signs here and there. It seems like the real estate market is alive and well in Stockbridge, from what I saw. On a number of these parcels, I noticed that they had long lengths of frontage. And frontage in Massachusetts means ease of development, generally, either for A&R lots or for getting subdivision roads in and then back out. Most of them had long lengths of frontage on one road. I know the Marion Fathers actually have frontage, appears on two roads, East Street and what is it, Vine or Prospect? But anyway, the ones that I've noticed on this little trip that had a lot of frontage are the Camp Mackinac, Marion Fathers, Elm Court, High Lawn Farm, Kripalu. 37 Interlaken also has a bit of frontage, probably enough to get a subdivision road in and then back out to create a loop. So some of these properties that you brought my attention to do appear to have some development potential. I spent quite a bit of time at the 37 Interlaken, the DeSisto property. We got out, walked around, orbited the building, looked in the windows, walked all around the grounds, walked out into the back, across the wetlands, out there a ways, probably where the back half of that proposal would be built. And the building itself was in surprisingly bad shape, even inside. If you look in the windows, it's been gutted. I mean, there's no nice plaster. There's not a lot of nice woodwork that I saw. There's a lot of stud work. Some of the walls have been down to the studs. Maybe the plaster got ruined from water intrusion. But a lot of it appears to be down to the studs or shored up with new studs. So it's no bargain inside. But my biggest revelation, and I guess in all these discussions about the DeSisto property, I noticed that there didn't seem to be a lot of care and concern about necessarily preserving that structure. In my town, if we had a structure like that, it would probably be on our town seal, and it would be the most prominent building in town, something that would define Shutesbury. But having driven all over Stockbridge, you guys have one of these on every corner practically.
What's that?
That's what?
He said, driving through Stockbridge, we have one of these on every corner practically.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like the DeSisto building is that unique to your town. In fact, compared to Elm Court, it looks like an outbuilding. But anyway, so that sort of answered the question to me, is why the developer there may not have been able to make his case, for allowing so much additional development in order to preserve that building. Basically, you have a lot of buildings like that. So let's see, what else about that property? That property would be developable even if the building came down. If it was just leveled and you were to subdivide that front part, you'd probably get a lot of houses up there. If you could get across the wetlands, get the permitting to get across the wetlands into the next area, you could probably do a lot back there as well. Something eventually will happen to that piece. Meadow Road next door. I noticed that the road was pretty modest. I actually am in favor of modest subdivision roads, shared driveways, modest subdivision roads, rather than big, wide, bituminously paved roads. But it is an example of large lot sprawl. It's very land consumptive. There's not a lot of houses, big lots, without any open space that I could see other than people's large yards. One thing I noticed about the roads in town, the new roads that have been created with some of these projects, some of these small development projects, is that the roads are long. They're very long dead ends. And I don't know whether you have a length limit on dead ends. Maybe you don't.
We do.
Okay. Do you know how long that is?
It's
Okay.
500 feet, I think, and then there's by special permit for reasons of environmental concerns, viewscapes, or agricultural.
That's
It's-
driveway.
That's a driveway. 500.
Oh, yeah, that's driveway. I'm sorry, what were you asking, Jeff?
These
A road
subdivision roads that go
Oh,
into
yeah,
these various,
sorry.
you know, like Meadow Road, like Old Tree Farm Road, like Stone Hill Road.
I don't think we have.
Even Campion, very long.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head what the limitation on subdivision roads is, but the fact of the matter is that that's been waived several times in my recollection. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's how you do it. If you had a length of 1,000 or 500 or 750 or even 1,000, you'd have to waive them to build them longer.
Yeah.
And it looks like you have.
You have done that.
Most of these roads, though, are, you know, for the number of houses on them and for the topography that I noticed, they're not bad roads. They have a nice width. They're not overly wide. Some of the surfacing is gravel. They seem to hold up pretty well. I didn't see much erosion or anything on these roads. I did see country drainage, you know, just swales that discharge water off to the sides, not necessarily concentrating it. I thought that was a pretty good thing that you folks have been doing out there. I went to Stone Hill, way up in the
That was a private road.
northeast. So Stone Hill, I'm not sure how that was created. I liked it. I wrote some pretty good things about it. Nice for what it is. Any open space, modest road with country drainage for oil and stone. Yeah, it looked like oil and stone, which is a good surface. I think I liked it because when you go in, there's a sort of at the back, there's a sharp curve, like almost a hairpin that goes to the left, and that whole area was open. And it looked to be open by design, but I think it's just an unsold lot or two. I'm not sure which. If it was open space that by design, it was a good design because that's a nice little common open area there. I think that's why I liked it. Put a house there, it could probably change everything. Let's see. What else? Stone Hill frontage.
Yeah, Stone Hill, there's no houses till you get up.
No what?
There's no houses till you get up a
Right.
little farther.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's also a nice feature. Not seeing a whole lot from the road that people drive on. Means some of the properties look pretty developable, like the Marion Fathers. That doesn't seem very constrained up there, and it's kind of high and up in the air. Doesn't appear to be wet. Good topography. Probably you could put a lot up there if they ever decided they were going to. I did get down to the Campion Farm area because that's a project that we've been talking about redesigning as an HRPZ. Drove up there, took a look at that, got a sense of the lay of the land. I probably need to know a little more information about that. I did run some numbers on it, but they're based on some guesses and assumptions on my part. So So I'm not sure if I want to really kick those out yet until I've kind of verified my site information on that. But my impression was it would certainly lend itself to an NHRPZ up in there, probably with a little less roadway and a few shared driveways and a bunch of open space. So, beautiful town. It was great getting around there. Your architecture is nothing like what I'm used to out here. It's a pretty special place, and would have been pretty cool to have been there 125 years ago and watch all these places being built.
Okay. Any questions of Jeff arising out of this overview? Nancy?
Were you able to take aerial pictures for us to distribute?
No, I was I took a few from the earth. I don't have a drone. I can probably get aerial photos of just about anything you want if you tell me what it is from state GIS sources, geographic information sources.
So we need coordinates.
No, all I need to know is what it is, and I can find it, and then get you a current aerial photo.
Okay.
Straight down aerial photo.
We can get that too directly from Oliver, can't we, Jeff?
Yeah. If that's where you can get it.
Yep.
Listen, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time and coming through. You know, I mean, I have to say we are really blessed in Stockbridge to have a beautiful place that has been, you know, whatever. I mean, somehow miraculously, carefully taken care of over a long period of time. And you know, I think there is something about kind of taking the tour. I mean, you know, what do? I mean, I run down to the post office, you know, I go to the grocery store, you know, but actually, like, you know, driving through town and taking the whole thing in, you realize, like, you know, what a spectacular legacy we have. It's something special.
I agree.
Jeff, do you propose to, even though I've been taking notes and others have been too, do you propose to put something on paper for us that summarizes these comments or focuses particularly on individual properties? How would you intend to proceed on this aspect of your work?
Well, I thought the next step would be to redesign one of these, and it would be something like Stonehill Road or Maple Road or Old Tree Farm Road or the Campion Farms, or something that you all know that was built by a subdivision. In other words, new road creating frontage for new lots, according to what the requirements would be under NHRPZ. And you know, I really need to get to know the property very well. I thought we were heading in that direction for Campion Farm, so we spent a good bit of time down there. I still don't have some critical information about it, like what the, what percentage of the land is slopey, how many acres of wetlands, what the total acreage is. There's a little missing information there. And then I could do two things. One is easy. I could run the numbers because NHRPZ is formulaic. I could run the numbers and tell you what you get compared to what you have on the ground or what's proposed. Or I could, then I could actually redesign it, draw you a little project. That's more difficult because it needs to be realistic. If you don't draw it realistically, the people who know the property better than I do will pick you apart for putting a road through wetlands and putting houses on hillsides and doing other stupid things. So that takes a little more care.
How, Jeff, Jennifer sent you some additional information that I don't think included things like wetlands and slopes today on Campion Farms. And I think we've exhausted your files at this point.
Just about. I mean, there isn't that much, and I looked for Form As and stuff, and there's no Form A on there.
Does that information exist somewhere else in the Berkshire Registry of Deeds or because presumably some of that information would have been necessary when they originally came before this planning board, wouldn't they? I'm a little surprised we don't.
The assessor's office or something like that?
I'm not sure why we have some of that, but not.
Well, he would have the
Not
plot
enough.
plan.
Property cards?
Sorry, what would we have, Gary?
Oh, the assessor's office would have the property cards and the plot plans.
Well, that's progress, I guess, a little bit.
Oh, hey, Bill?
Yes.
So what kind of information, what additional information did Jennifer, I guess, did you have on Campion Farms, and what are you looking for?
It was really just survey information, engineering survey drawings that show the plots, the layout of the drive, the cul-de-sac at the top coming back down.
Yeah.
But there were no sense of elevation. I mean, we know it's on a hill, but the drawings don't show that. And there's no delineation of wetlands or other unique features to the property, at least from what I could see. And there may be no wetlands. It's pretty much on the entire piece of property, it seemed to me, when I drove it, was on a slope, some more severe and some parts of it less severe slopes.
Gary, wasn't that sort of one of the concerns? This predates me, but wasn't that one of the concerns, was that so much of it was ledge, Gary, at the time of the proposal?
Which one?
Campion Farms,
Oh.
what's now
What was the name of it before?
Stone Ridge.
Stone Ridge. Stone Ridge.
It's the one that was subject to the litigation.
Oh, yeah, right.
Stone Ridge.
No, I don't think so. It might have been just in putting the driveway in, but I don't recall, except maybe over in the West Stockbridge side,
Okay.
which wouldn't have affected us.
Right.
Okay.
I don't recall that.
Well, it sounds, Jeff, if we can't make available additional information, the kind you would like to have, that maybe taking a couple of these properties and making some very clear and very well described assumptions, you take a whack at what these properties would look like under your bylaw. recognizing that, as you say, it's, you know, we just have imperfect information unless somebody has an idea of where we can get the kinds of detail that that would help you to make a more accurate, rendition of that property done under NRHPZ standards.
So I think I do have access to that information. If you want me to, you'd have to provide me access to Jeff, Bill, but I think I could provide him with that information with your permission, of course.
Can we, for my purposes, maybe everybody else understands GIS. What is GIS? Is that geographic information services?
System.
And who maintains that?
Berkshire Regional has a bunch of stuff.
Berkshire Regional?
Berkshire Regional has some stuff.
It's actually the,
I think it's
actually a federal, I think it's a federal program. It's a US Geological
Survey.
Services. Jeff, help me out there. What's the?
GIS. Geological.
Just give me 1 second, please, Marie. Jeff, is it the US Geological Services that maintains GIS?
No, GIS is Geographic Information Services or Systems, and a lot of the data is private, and much of it comes from different programs. ESRI is one of the big. So no, it's not really a function of government. Government uses it. Government gets a license and uses it.
So if we
for something like Campion Farms, now that's a subdivision, right? Because they made a road, so they had to come to you, planning board, and in order to get that approved, they have to go through you and submit a plan that shows all the topography. See, I can determine slope if I have a decent map. You know, a real 2x3 map. I can do a slope analysis. That should show wetlands as well. That probably came to their application to you folks. And it should exist in the file somewhere.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's available online, Jeff.
Online.
GIS?
I didn't think GIS showed elevation levels.
It's the first I've heard of it.
You haven't looked up your property on GIS?
No. I know I don't have any slopes.
If you're looking for.
But I don't need GIS to tell me that.
Okay, I can pursue this through various avenues. If Kate has information that she can forward to me, I'd love to see it. The Conservation Commission, these guys probably came before the Concom for some kind of NOI or something. And so the Concom must have a handle on the amount of wet that's out there. And the reason I need to know these things is because they fit into the formulas.
Right.
Track that stuff.
I'll send you what I have, Jeff. It might not be what you need, but hey, you know.
And Jennifer's just saying she can print out the wetlands.
Yeah, I mean, it's all available online. This is not like a secret.
We just got those wetland maps from Berkshire Regional Planning.
It comes from Berkshire Regional Planning, right?
Yes.
Well, no, we have a map, it's basically a tax map. Mike has it, you've probably seen it, Gary. And you can look at layers and you can look at the wetlands where they are and stuff like that.
So you could identify Campion Farms on such a map and therefore identify whether there's any wetlands there.
Right.
What about topography, slopes and, you know, the gradation of slope?
There might be, there's a lot of different things. So I'll look and see.
Okay, Jennifer's going to look, and if she finds anything in the next few days, she'll send it to you, Jeff.
Okay.
And Kate, if you find relevant data or sources, feel free to send it to Jeff too. Please.
Bill?
Yeah.
Question, I mean, if we're going to send out this questionnaire on the draft date of this NHRPZ, I thought that was going to be our first order of business before we pursued this very much farther. So I just wonder how much farther and how much further discussion we want to have on this before we get that information back. If that, the idea was to kind of figure out if this is a worthwhile pursuit or if it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Would we need Jeff's suggestions on what it would look like in order for people to make a
Can you hear
decision
Marie?
whether they like this?
can people hear Marie?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Wayne asked if we wanted to continue further with this or work on the survey for the town before we go. But if we ask people whether they like this NHRPZ, would it make sense that we had something to show them to see what it would look like? To see if they decide what
That's sort of what I was
zoning
thinking.
would look like in their decision as to whether we should continue with this or not. Otherwise, they don't really know what we're talking about.
I was thinking they go hand in hand. That if we can get something,
We had a
you know,
model.
with a reasonable degree of accuracy, and if we can't get perfect accuracy, we just have to label it as the assumptions we've used so that nobody can accuse us of being wild here. I think an illustration, whether it's Campion Farms or Meadow Road or whatever, where we can get the right degree of information, amount of information, as an illustration of how NRHPZ would look versus what's there now or what's planned in the case of Campion Farms, I think helps to make real or more real the bylaw itself. I mean, I take your point that we don't want to spend another couple of months on this. I think the idea of sending out draft 8 makes a lot of sense, but I thought it would be enhanced if we had an example or two.
I just look at what we've done with Jeff, with Randall. We had a special meeting for that specifically to look at the different versions of what would happen on a given piece of property as an illustration. And we've had that, I think, 2 or 3 times actually with the different planners. And I don't know how that changes, or really the interest that was there, because we didn't get very many people that were interested in understanding what it was.
Well, and I would just, you know, if we're going to go to the trouble of doing this kind of presentation, I would make a point of like doing, you know, sort of the A version versus the B version, you know, so that, you know, you could see what would potentially be allowable under our conventional zoning, our current zoning, and versus the NHRPZ.
I just want to see if there's interest in us pursuing it.
Period.
In the first place.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I hear you. I think you're right. We have looked at plots of land, theoretical plots of land, or even in Jeff's case with the visits most of us made to Shutesbury and Wendell, what NRHPZ would kind of look like on various plots. But the thing here is this would be a Stockbridge. This would be something that people knew about, or I think would take more interest in, just because this is not hypothetical. This is actually a piece of property in Stockbridge that is either planning to be developed as a subdivision or already has, And we understand what subdivisions mean. And here's how, in a real situation, this bylaw would differ from the subdivision, either the built kind at Stone Ridge or the planned kind in Campion Farms.
I just want some limit on how much further we're gonna go before we get a response back from folks, that's all.
Yeah, I hear you. I know it's frustrating.
I think that at least one of them should be 37 Interlake, then, if you're going to do that.
That's the hot button one in town, yeah.
I think it should be what could be built and what, in both versions. And then you could do Campion Farms if you wanted to. Or whatever else,
Yeah.
but 37's, I think it's got to be one of them, if you're going to do that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gary.
Hey, and Jeff, I'm sorry, did you happen to cruise by Camp Mackinac and Tanglewood? I know that might have not been on the list.
They were.
The three things in response to Wayne.
I'm sorry.
I ran the numbers on 37 Interlake a number of months ago. They exist somewhere. They were based on a lot of assumptions I made about that. It's 320 acres, so it's hard to know exactly how many acres of wetlands, exactly how much slope there is. But I did run those numbers. I can look those up for you. With Mackinac, I didn't go in there, but we drove the frontage, and then kind of looked in a little bit. There's a lot of frontage, looks like about 2,000 feet. Then there's lakefront. So, that much frontage means you can punch in, run through, punch out with a road. Then you've got lake frontage. So that's probably a developable piece. We saw went to the BSO lands. I wasn't really alerted that those were threatened in any way. And then didn't really get into Kripalu, but looked up at it and then saw that they have lands that go down to the lake. I mean, that's also probably very developable if they fold. I'd be happy to refine what I did for DeSisto.
That's what everybody's.
Kripalu's not exactly historic.
Huh?
Kripalu's not exactly historic.
No.
No,
What
not
was
what's
that?
there now.
What was that?
Well, it is though, under our law bylaws, it is.
When they wrote that.
Shadowbrook was there, Jeff. It was
true.
it was
This
the original. It was one of the original estates here in Stockbridge.
So
It was the second biggest house. It was the second biggest house in the country.
Oh,
Shadow-
that's it.
Yeah, burned
Was,
down though.
It burned down. It was.
The Jesuits were smoking in bed.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, no, it's tricky. I mean, we count on so many of these properties being tied up, indefinitely, and it's just not that clear. And the pressure exists, but where it actually comes to bear is very hard to say, but I think what we're doing right now is trying to be ready for when that does happen.
Nancy,
Jeff, did you change your mind after looking at 3537 Interlaken about how because you had done your original figures without seeing it? Now that you've seen the property, do you think it's more developable?
No, my opinion of that property really hadn't changed. I mean, the greatest impediment there is the wetland area that comes from the north I'm not sure if it goes all the way through the piece, but it presents a problem for crossing because the wetland's got some width to it. And I'm just not sure what if you have a local wetlands bylaw or how strict that is, whether you could get across there. I mean, it's certainly not a limited project and it's not a threshold crossing that you have to have in order to access the property. I mean, that's the biggest, to me, that's the biggest challenge on that piece. And then the land is not all that steep for a ways farther until it really goes up the hill. So no, I think that's quite developable.
Thank you.
Including, even though it wasn't in the owner's original plans, in the front.
Yes.
I mean, that's a big field that he has apparently chosen to keep untouched, but there's no reason why he couldn't develop that part. It wasn't in his original plan.
Which is an interesting thing about that property is that, like, you know, part of the landscape of the town there is that enormous stretch of open space. You know, right in front, right on the road, you know, all like nicely kept mowed. Whoever does that, I have no idea. But but you know, I mean, when it comes to the upland, when you get into the steep slope, the Stockbridge Land Trust and Berkshire Natural Resources have been, you know, I mean, that's part of their Yoken Ridge project that has been going on for decades, and they are, you know, I mean, it's you know, it's basically, you know, a big piece of putting together that puzzle. You know, I've been in back there, and you know, there's a lot of, like, you know, like you say, once you get across a little bit of swampy bit, you know, I mean, there's a lot of very nice land that is like way out of sight, and it's and there it is, you know, but I don't know. That's.
Well, Jeff, if you could, just to cut to the chase, concentrate on 37 Interlaken. Go back and find your numbers. I do remember that you did those. And if we can get you GIS or other information from open sources, or even if, you know, sources other than open sources about the topography, where the wetlands are, how much acreage are in wetlands and slopes, we'll do that. Otherwise, we're going to have to make some reasonable estimates and show what could be done on that property under this bylaw.
Okay.
And what could be done on what we have now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Comparing,
Yeah, thank you, Ed.
Is that?
I think in the original proposal from Patrick Sheehan, there is one of those plans has topography, I thought, that it showed the buildable and unbuildable. Somewhere I saw that. I don't know if it's in that original paperwork that he proposed or not, but I've seen that document somewhere. I don't know if it was with his stuff or not.
If we have it, that would be useful. If somebody has it, yeah.
And Jeff, could you also, in your reporting on this property, could you also keep in mind that we have a cluster bylaw?
Yep.
Does the Scenic Mountain Act, Gary, do you know if the Scenic Mountain Act deals with that land?
That would deal with it in the back, yeah.
So
Right,
some of it is
none
scenic
of that
mountain.
was proposed to be built on, none of the steep slopes, so
Not the-
whether that's consequential or not, I guess it would be consequential in just its pure land area.
Yeah.
But none of that was proposed.
Right, there was just a few houses beyond the brook
Right,
Beyond the
gathered in a
wetlands.
cluster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
but in figuring it out, the Scenic Mountain Act does affect the back there.
Yeah.
Just as, pardon my ignorance, but has our cluster bylaw ever been used?
I thought it was used for, Gary, help me out here. I thought it was used for Stone Ridge.
I'm not really sure that it was, they wanted their own, I mean, the plan they had was envelopes, so it was, that's what that subdivision was. You know, large envelopes with one or, you know, a house and a garage. And then it had to have so much room around it.
This is.
That's
what's now
Campion Farm.
Campion Farms, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the new name now, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like a cluster to me. I mean,
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
so,
Well, I mean, we have, I mean, what looks to me on paper like a perfectly reasonable cluster bylaw already on the books. And, you know, but I mean, it's interesting that it hasn't actually been deployed.
well, it's optional. I mean, that bylaw is optional. NHRPZ would not be optional. It would be,
And that's one of the things that I actually have an issue with is like, you know, I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the, you know, is this optional or not? It seems like essentially you're putting, you know, replacing something that's been, you know, I mean, the proposal is to replace something that has been, you know, serving us for 50 years and then like, you know, I mean, I don't know, I mean, there could be, you know, there could be consequences. So.
but Carl, how can it be serving you if it's never been used? And
Oh, the cluster bylaw. No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm talking about I mean, but the NHRPZ would supplant our current, two for, acre zoning.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the new law of the land, so.
Carl, I think we just haven't had any great big areas come up for sale, come up for development in town. I mean, you know, there isn't any developments in town because it hasn't come up for sale.
No.
They might, any of these
And I
big
think-
properties might.
I think you think about some of these properties, and I'm not going to name any, but I think you can identify 3 or 4 that could easily come up for sale in the next 5 to 10 years. At least to my mind, there are some obvious candidates that could come up for sale and end up as subdivisions with a lot of houses on them. Probably not what we would like to see. That's sort of what's been motivating me, Carl, about this bylaw is the worry that some of these big properties, again, I'm not going to name them, could actually be sold. And under current, the current bylaws, we're stuck.
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm sorry, I think this is a really good reason for, to see, like, if Jeff can give us like a sort of, some either or scenarios. I mean, like, I mean, that would be very instructive.
Yeah.
Jeff.
So, yeah, with something like 37 Interlaken, we'd have to make some assumptions probably. And that would be that permits could be obtained to breach the wetland, to get a road across there. The developer certainly thinks he could. So I guess if I were to do conventional and NHRPZ there, I would make the assumption you could get across. Because that's a big difference. I mean, if you're limited to just the front, it's gonna be a lot more limited. If you can get in the back, then you can do a lot more. So I would make the assumption I can get across. And
I think, Jeff, on that point, didn't his plans originally show buildings across the wetlands?
Yes.
On the far side of the wetlands. So I think that's not an unreasonable assumption.
okay.
So Jeff, a question for you on that. If this is a conservation bylaw, how is it conservation to cross a large wetland? And aren't you just increasing fragmentation and so on by building back in there? And I thought the whole point of this was that you keep the development fragmentation impacts where they already exist, in this case, namely towards the front of the property.
Well, that's what it looks like. You can see the little connector there, right there. This is up front. This is the little road that goes to the back. And you're dealing with 300.
Excuse me, that's what they were proposing, correct? But there's no road there now, is there?
Right. No, there's a pathway. You can walk through there.
Okay, but that's different from a road.
Of course, and it's squishy, and you can tell you're in wetland. And it's squishy for a ways, so it's not a quick crossing. It's going to have to be a substantial crossing. So the question is, if this was conventionally developed, could they reasonably expect to get across here and do something? If it was developed by NHRPZ, could they reasonably expect to get across here? NHRPZ may, given the discretion you have in the conservation analysis and findings process, you may deem that this can't happen. That what has to happen has got to be up here. That this isn't worth doing, or if it's going to be a crossing here, it's going to be a pedestrian, bicycle, horse, some other kind of crossing to access recreational lands in the back. There's different ways that you can work it out, but I'm just trying to get a handle on if this was developed conventionally, could under Stockbridge's wetlands bylaw, do you have a local bylaw?
No.
Or you just use the state?
Yep.
Okay, well, then you probably.
37 Interlaken did not have conservation. They didn't get as far as trying to get conservation
Commission.
permission
Yeah.
to go over there. That was their plan, but they, as far as I know, they never got as far as asking the Concom about that. So we don't know what the Concom would say.
Well,
One approach.
the point is we don't have a local local conservation commission bylaw. So this is definitely a vulnerability, I would say.
Okay.
One approach you could take, Jeff, is to do a couple of scenarios. One, assuming that that wetland should not be crossed by a road, and therefore there'd be no development, no residential development on the other side of the wetland, which would suggest probably as an alternative, the developer would want to build closer to Interlaken Road, the road that the property fronts on. And then another alternative is that there is a crossing. And it could get approved on some basis, and you could build back there.
Yeah, that's 4 acre zoning there?
I think part of it is 2 acre and part of it's 4.
I think it's 2 in the front and 4
Two
in the back.
front,
Yeah.
4 in the back.
2 in the front, 4 in the back.
Okay. Yeah, probably if it was developed conventionally, they would work very hard to obtain a crossing, so they could use that back portion, because they're having to put everything on 2 and 4 acre lots, which is going to limit how much they have. So the impetus would be to get across and build out to the potential. I know NHRPZ, if the conservation analysis dictated it, could take that same number and keep it up front of the wetlands, kind of over the crest, a little bit out of sight, but it would be a more concentrated, because there are no lot sizes. You could concentrate it. It wouldn't look like what he proposed, but it would be tighter.
Yeah.
But you might not have to go across the wetlands. And
you know, we
use
are,
those lands for other purposes.
we need to remind ourselves that his plans that we've seen are what now, 5 years old? It's been 4 or 5 years since those plans were drawn up. And I know there's been some communication with him by people in town, but not much. And we don't know how and where he might have amended those plans. I would assume he's done so, but we don't know how he's done so.
Well, I mean, I think it's worth pursuing, some analysis of that situation, as well as, some existing developments and potential developments in town, kind of as thought experiments. But I mean, I have to say, I feel a little uncomfortable about, well, whatever. I mean, I'm not sure, about Jeff's time here, but but just about us drawing up proposals for projects. I mean, I think in sort of a sort of like I said before, thought experiment kind of way. I think it could be really helpful, but I don't know quite where we draw the line about getting specific about other people's people's properties here.
Wayne, did you?
Hey, Jeff, as you look at that plan for 37, doesn't that incorporate much of what it is that NHRPZ describes as you look at that proposed plan?
If all of the back was permanently preserved, it could start looking like an NHRPZ. I know the number of units here is, as I recall, is considerably more than what NHRPZ would yield. I mean,
Okay, but the basic location and open space that's preserved there is generally in line with NHRPZ, isn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, there's some good things about this. The front area kept natural, concentrating things sort of over the bluff and out of sight a little bit. Getting through the wetlands with as expeditiously as you can, and then this starts getting a little sprawly back here. But yeah, there are aspects of it that do look like NHRPZ. But I counted up all the units here, and I ran the formulas, and you wouldn't get this many units.
Right.
Not nearly as many. I mean,
Is the conference, Jeff, is Mr. Sheehan's proposed conference center shown on that map?
Conference center. Is that, let's see.
I don't know. At one point, he was talking about a conference center, and I don't think I saw the plans that showed that.
The front of it looks like that. you know, with the main building in the middle, and then a bunch of townhouse condos surrounding courtyards and different things. So it would have to be in there somewhere.
So there's not, is there anything labeled conference center? Well, you don't need to, you know, you can maybe check that out on your free time.
Marie,
Oh, man.
go ahead.
But I think what we'd like is not what 37 Interlaken proposed, because I felt they had some really good parts of that. But what I think we'd like is what an NHRPZ zone would look like on that property.
Yes.
And what a subdivision, if somebody comes in there and decides they're going to do a subdivision, not what DeSisto wanted to do, but what a subdivision would look like as opposed to the NHRPZ. I think that's what we want, because,
Yes.
you know, I think what the system wanted has a lot of the elements of your bylaw. But I think what might happen there is it could become a regular subdivision with 2 acre and 4 acre lots throughout the whole thing. And I think that's what we're trying to show people, the difference between those two bylaws, the possibilities.
Thank you, Maria.
In a big field.
Yes.
And that's property they can picture. They know what it looks like.
Do you want?
I'm sorry, Marie. I'm sorry, Marie. I'm not to interrupt you, but I mean the big elephant is the house. You know, I mean, is it?
Yes, but that's this specific one. We're trying to get a bylaw. We want people to understand what a bylaw would mean for any given large field or piece of property that might go on the market and become a subdivision. And I think what we need people to see, and they can, if they can picture the property that 37 Interlaken is, they can see what that might look like as a subdivision and what it would look like under the bylaw that we're proposing. So they can then make that kind of judgment for any place in town. And don't make anybody think that that's what Mr. Sheehan is going to do. But that is a piece of property that they can picture in their head and say, okay, it would look like this under the proposed bylaw that we're voting on, or it would look like this as a subdivision. It could look like this as a subdivision. I think maybe that's what we need, and not so much. I understand that that particular property has an historic building. I get that. But the bylaw we want is to do with a historic building, I guess, because we're also addressing the cottage era bylaw, but also any given large piece of property. I think we need to show people what we mean.
Yes, I think we all agree on that.
Jeff,
In both scenarios, should I keep the house or not?
Probably
Well, how do you not keep it? Because
You probably have to.
if you're simply taking the cottage era estate bylaw and throwing it out, and you're gonna place the overlay on an open area without the building there, that's one thing, but cottage era hasn't been addressed yet. And
Yeah.
if you
probably have to.
take that house out, it's not really what the concern, or what everyone knows to be there. So I don't think that it should just be an open piece of land,
You're right.
because that's not the issue. It's about how we combine, or the discussion is on that property as it is.
Well,
If you want an open field, you can use any open field.
Well, but here's the thing, cottage era is voluntary. That's something you come in and apply for a special permit for. So, we're making the assumption that if the house continues to deteriorate and Sheehan can't do anything with it, he'll subdivide conventionally. And, I mean, do you really want a haunted house in the middle of your subdivision as a central feature? I mean, it's probably going.
Well, if we're not going to allow them to take it down, we're not going to allow them to fix it up, where does that put them?
I think we have to allow them to take it down if it reaches a point of deterioration, which it sounds like it may already have done, can we compel that he maintain it or improve it?
Yeah, I think,
This is a big problem, which is, we have a situation where, we have demolition by neglect. And, in our little historic preservation commission, we have, very cut and dried decisions where it's like, is it significant? Is it not significant? If it's significant, we kick it up to the planning board, and and at that point, there's a a two-step process. If the planning board says okay, fine, go ahead, and doesn't uphold the historic preservation's decision, then down it may come. If they do determine that, if we, determine that that something is worth trying to preserve, then we enter into sort of our hardship provisions about potentially putting something up for sale and finding out if there's anyone who's willing to take on a project. I don't know. I mean, it's been a long time since I was in that particular property. There have been some amazing things that have been have been saved over the years. Elm Court, for one thing, that was completely the family, but there's the house on Old Stockbridge Road, where Marywood Camp was, that appears to be like on its way to being salvaged. I mean,
Carl, that property on Old Stockbridge Road is so structurally sound.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean.
So how about this? How about if can your committee have a discussion about the DeSisto property?
No, that's,
yeah,
We're
let's,
getting away from.
again, can I say something?
Well, I'd like to finish if I may. I mean, if the property is not structurally sound and it has to go, and that's what, Bill was asking that question, then.
I don't think we would even talk about it, except informally, unless someone like came and made application,
Why not?
Well, we do, I mean, well, I mean,
You have to deal with a proposal, an actual proposal,
Wait.
not just in theory. Wayne?
If we deem a maintenance man quarters on High Lawn Farm where he lived to be significant, then I think that the DeSisto property certainly should be considered significant. That place was falling down, and we wouldn't allow that place to be torn down. And yes, it was in a historic district, but it was garbage. And if we're going to say that that thing was deserved preserving, I certainly think the mansion at DeSisto is worth considering.
Yeah, no, I can assure you in an informal way, although here we are being recorded and everything, but I mean, I can assure you that, if someone came to us with a proposal to demolish the DeSisto, what is it? The Hannah Farm, actually, I think is what it was originally called, building, Historic Preservation Commission would say, no, it's significant. I mean, for one thing, it was like, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I mean, the fact that it was the birthplace of Tanglewood, is not insignificant. And then it goes to the planning board for reconsideration. And then from there it goes on, to, through the process, and it, could take, I mean, it's a demolition delay, essentially, what we don't have, except for possibly through Community Preservation Act, what we do not have in this town or honestly in this country are, readily available funds for fixing up historic properties that,
That's another subject.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, I don't want to change the subject and exactly like.
All I want to know is if I should just make the assumption without.
You probably have to.
whether it's
Building or no building.
Building or
I
no
don't know.
building, and that would apply to.
Be funny if it wasn't true.
let's assume the building stays.
Yeah, it has to. If we're
Let's
gonna-
assume the building stays. Nancy, do you have a?
I just want to move along with what we were talking about before we got off on this tangent about the historic building
Yeah.
stays. or-
Well, what we're trying to do is give Jeff guidance so that what he produces about DeSisto is,
Yeah, so if we all decide that we want the building to stay, the building stays, and we'll move along from there.
yeah,
We have to, I think.
yeah. Do you have enough,
Building has to stay.
at least guidance from us? You may need additional information from other sources to do some work on this, overlaying in our HPZ.
Yeah, we've talked about 3 places, Campion Farms, maybe Stone Hill, but you seem most interested in 37 Interlaken. So I guess that's what you want me to concentrate on first.
Yeah, let's start with 37 Interlaken.
Okay, will do. And should I, when I'm trying to get information, if it has to come from the town, should I go through you, Bill, or through Kate, or through somebody, Jennifer, or somebody else, or?
I think it's going to be most efficient if you're looking for information, town information, if you go to Jennifer.
Okay.
I mean, you can come to me, but my first impulse would be to turn to Jennifer, so cut me out as a middleman.
Okay, very good.
Okay,
Yeah, it's sort of half done already, but pretty quick and dirty when I did it.
okay.
Okay,
Good. Well, Jeff, thank you. Let's plan on hearing progress at our next meeting, which is on the 23rd. When is our next meeting?
It's December
Sorry,
21st.
it's December 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah, just before Christmas.
Winter solstice.
Do we hold the meeting? Is it traditional to hold it that close to Christmas, or do we? Because the next meeting is,
Right, Gary.
the next meeting is January 4th.
Yeah.
I guess I'd vote to not have the meeting right before Christmas.
I would too.
Well, let's move it to the January.
Okay, so can we agree among ourselves that we're going to not hold the meeting on December 21st? Everybody speak up who wants to meet on the 21st. Hold it down, please. Okay, so we're not going to meet on the 21st.
Wonder.
We'll skip the 21st. And Jeff, be in touch in the meantime, but we'll hope to see something from you at or ideally before the 4th, so we can, if you have something that is physical, you can share it before the 4th so we can have a look at it.
you bet. That's doable.
Okay. I know there are a couple of other items on the agenda, but it's 8:20. I don't know about you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I thought we might get such a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have a good evening
Merry Christmas.
Have a good, have a
Yeah,
good
Merry
December.
Christmas.
and happy, and we'll see you in the Happy New Year.
Happy New
Right.
Year, yeah.